Investment Banking Market Developments by Jackson Everton,
Bo Johnson,
Preston Nagley,
and Devin Overd.
On April 7th, Aglia Biotherapeutics are expecting to issue an initial public offering. Their symbol will be AGLE on the NASDAQ. They are looking to receive $72,450,000 from investors. On March 30th, PBF Logistics issued a secondary public offering at a price per share of $19.65. Their symbol is PBFX on the New York Stock Exchange. Spotify raised $1 billion through convertible debt financing. Participants included private equity firm TBG, Dragoneer Investment Group, and clients of Goldman Sachs. Spotify agreed to pay annual interest that starts at 5% and increases by 1 percentage point every 6 months until the company goes public or until the annual interest hits 10%. In return for financing, Spotify promised its new investors strict guarantees tied to an IPO. If Spotify holds a public offering in the next year, TPC and Dragoneer will be able to convert the debt into equity at a 20% discount to the share price of the public offering. Invoca Incorporated raised $30 million in Series D financing led by Morgan Stanley Alternative Investment Partners. Investors involved include Excel Partners, Salesforce Ventures, Stepstone, Rincon Venture Partners, and Upfront Ventures. The company is planning to be IPO ready in 2017.
This week provided several developments in the M&A markets, with several transactions being announced. On Wednesday, March 30th, the board of directors of both Sharp Corporation and Foxconn Technology Group announced Foxconn's acquisition of Sharp for 389 billion yen, which is roughly $3.5 billion. The deal gives Foxconn a 66% ownership stake in the form of common and preferred shares with convertible options. Foxconn's acquisition will give it a greater market share and allow it to expand into the cell phone screen manufacturing market. Another technology acquisition took place this week on Monday, March 28th, as Dell, the computer manufacturer, agreed to sell its IT arm to NTT Data, a communications company, for $3.05 billion. Dell reportedly made the deal in order to raise capital for one of its acquisitions in process of EMC Corp. NTT made the deal in order to combat its struggling growth in Japan and also expand its presence in North America. In other acquisition news this week, JetBlue and Alaska Airlines submitted bids to purchase Virgin America. Sources stated over the weekend that it was likely that Alaska Air would win the bidding process and end up purchasing Virgin for over $2 billion. Alaska Airlines won the bid for roughly $2.6 billion. The transaction makes Alaska the fifth largest airline in the U.S.
Economic conditions are considered to be sound when an economy is expanding and to be adverse when an economy is contracting. Economic conditions are determined by several key factors, including but not limited to GDP growth rate, unemployment rate, and inflation rate. We will consider these factors now. The Bureau of Economic Analysis reported a 1.4% increase in real GDP for the fourth quarter of 2015. This was down from the reported 2% for the previous quarter. The 1.4% increase was largely due to increased consumer spending. Because analysis is typically carried out quarterly, data has yet to come for 2016. However, forecasters expect the same sluggish growth around 1.5% to be reported. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released its latest report of unemployment on April 1st. BLS reported virtually no change in the unemployment rate from previous months. In fact, the numbers have remained constant since September of 2015. The unemployment rate sits at 5% with 8 million unemployed. The number of long-term unemployed, those jobless for 27 weeks or more, was essentially unchanged at 2.2 million. This number has shown little movement since June 2015. Forecasts show no expected changes over the next several months. Inflation is defined as the increase in the overall price level, which is determined by computing the difference of the consumer price index between two different time periods. The latest BLS inflation report indicated a 1% inflation rate over the past 12 months. This is down from the Federal Reserve's 2% target rate, but the inflation rate is forecasted to steadily increase over the year, reaching the Fed's target by December. Overall, the economic growth in the United States has been sluggish at best for nearly a decade. You could say the economy has been adversely sound. However, the outlook of the economy seems encouraging as the Federal Reserve plans to raise interest rates again in June.
Financial technology industry draws attention of regulators. The financial technology industry's rapid growth is prompting regulators to start figuring out how these emerging financial products work and wrestling with how to oversee them. J. Christopher Giancarlo, a Commodity Futures Trading Commission member, said regulators can either follow a path that burdens the industry with multiple onerous regulatory frameworks, or one where regulators provide space to innovate. Banks' municipal bond holdings. The Fed adopted a framework that partly responded to industry concerns about a post crisis rule that could have made it harder for local governments to raise money. But the Fed's action didn't give critics what they wanted most, a definition deeming the bonds safer than corporate debt. U.S. House of Representative member Luke Messer said, "While I'm glad to see the Federal Reserve making some progress on this issue, the proposal does not go far enough. Unfortunately, it will continue to discourage investments in our local communities." FASB updates stock award accounting rules. Under the amended rules, businesses must record discrepancies between tax accounting and financial reporting related to equity compensation on the income statement. Currently, this information only appears on balance sheets and is shifted to income statements in specific situations. FASB Chairman Russell Golden said, based on input from those stakeholders, including the private company council, the FASB has issued a standard that we believe will simplify the accounting while maintaining the usefulness of information provided to investors.
Revenue in the investment banking industry took a hit during the first quarter of 2016. Earnings sunk to the lowest point since the recession of 2009. Compared to quarter one of 2015, revenue has dipped 36%. More specifically, numbers show that compared to the quarter one of 2015, revenue from underwriting equity offerings has fallen 55%, servicing IPOs has fallen 74%, and revenue from debt offering has fallen 32%. As a result of a weakened euro and a restructuring, Deutsche Bank has fallen from the top three spots in investment banking. JP Morgan holds the top spot, Goldman Sachs the second, and Citigroup and Bank of America tie for third. The investment banking industry is becoming more and more exposed to the digital side of business. Studies show that in order to continue to provide products and services efficiently, investment banks need to consider how they can adapt to the highly computerized world. Grayspark Consulting predicts that investment banks will need to adapt their business models to emulate the following points. They need a fully automated manufacturing plant for the creation, assembly, and packaging of financial products and services, a multi-channel distribution franchise that provides a consistent user experience for all interactions between a bank and its clients, and data managed as an asset across the entire supply chain. These changes will streamline the investment banking process, which will serve the bank's clients more effectively and efficiently. With respect to new products, JP Morgan introduced two new ETFs, JPEH and JPIH. These new ETFs employ the tactics of hedging, which allows investors to capture most of the upside while hedging in bear markets. This is a great product because it offers great stability amongst volatility.
In currency markets, the US dollar declined against the euro after the Federal Reserve Chair, Janet Yellen, gave a speech entitled Economic Outlook and Monetary Policy. Yellen's speech was interpreted by the market as dovish, which put pressure on the US dollar against all major currencies. This was the first breather the US dollar has seen against major currencies in past months, as it has been enjoying an upward trend. The US dollar will likely get a boost from the Federal Reserve's planned rate hikes in June. However, it's expected aggressive monetary policy tightening in other regions will likely put an end to the greenback's recent heyday. Commodity prices finally posted gains in the first quarter of 2016. The overall commodity sector with 29 major commodities rallied by 1.63% for the 3 months ending on March 31st. The overall winner for the quarter was iron ore, posting a gain of over 24%. One of the best performing commodities of quarter one was gold, posting a gain of 16.41% on the quarter. It was the best quarter for gold in 20 years due to fear and uncertainty in the global economy. However, prices in relation to silver and platinum seem to be high, which could mean overvaluation. U.S. crude oil is trading at 3-week lows and is likely to continue to drop due to the massive oversupply in the market. Further, a meeting scheduled for OPEC countries later this month to discuss capping crude output is not likely to be successful as many OPEC nations continue to embrace an every man for himself approach. U.S. crude oil futures have remained virtually unchanged, trading at $36.67 Monday morning, indicating no expected resurgence anytime soon.
Many hedge funds have been struggling the last couple of weeks, especially this week because of their investments in Valeant Pharmaceuticals and SunEdison. Jim Cramer made a strong case for Valeant Pharmaceuticals last year, and many hedge funds followed his advice, but have been getting killed as Valeant shares have fallen by 60% over the last several months. Many other hedge funds have suffered greatly as they followed David Einhorn's advice to invest in the solar company SunEdison. The company has been reported to be preparing for bankruptcy this week. Several leveraged buyout deals occurred this week. One included the PE firm Brightstar Capital Partners' purchase of Global Resale for $50 million. Details of the transaction were not included in the press release. The shares of Talon Energy Corporation soared nearly 10% as news of a possible leveraged buyout was released this week. Details of the potential buyer were not announced. This week, Forbes published an article that stated that PE firms are finding increasing amounts of competition in the market and are required to get more creative with their deals. The competitive nature of the market is manifest in the fact that leveraged buyout EBITDA multiples are increasing every year and are up to 10.1 times as of late 2015.